Yes, thank you, Terry. That was just. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Lake County. Bring a Friend Sunday. Dustin, can we greet those who are joining us on Zoom today? Everybody wave. All right. I'm Chris Cleveland, your service leader today, and my pronouns are she and her, and I share my pronouns with you so that people from the LGBTQIA community feel welcomed here and safe. We are blessed today to have Terry's lovely music and the AV talents of Dustin and Henry and Betsy. So let's give them a hand. It takes many people to put these services together. We have some announcements this morning. First of all, if you have a cell phone with you, please make sure it's silenced. And our Safe Congregation Committee highly recommends wearing a mask if they're not required, but they believe that a KN95 mask is the best and is safer, but you don't have to wear a mask. And we're pleased to see all the new faces today for our Bring a Friend Day. Will all those visiting with their friend please raise your hand? So we see all of, okay. Thank you for coming. We hope you enjoy the service today and that you learn something new and interesting. We are a different kind of church. Congregants, please be sure to greet those with the rainbow name tags after the service. We have many interesting things going on here at UUCLC. You can check our website, uulakecounty.org, or look in our weekly bulletin or our monthly communicator, which are emailed, and you can sign up for those on our website. This Saturday is the Eustis African American Heritage Parade, which we are participating in, and the lineup will begin at 8:30, and the parade starts at 10. And if you're interested in coming and helping carry our UU banner, let Karen Frank know, or you can sign up in the narthex. And they suggest that we carpool as much as possible. And we have a committee that is going to be restoring our wildflower garden right out here. And if you are interested in participating in cleaning up the current garden and designing and planting the new one, or choosing plants, or especially ongoing upkeep of the garden, let Karen Frank also know. Karen, you want to just let us know who you are over there? Okay. So after the service today, they will be meeting with Levon Silvernell, a naturalist who was the original planter of the garden, and they'll be meeting outside. So if you want to join them, let them know. Next Sunday, our 9:30 discussion will be Alexandra Legan presenting making a pro-truth pledge. So she'll tell you more about that. Come at 9:30 next Sunday and find out. We are thrilled to welcome our new interim minister next Sunday, Reverend Cynthia Snavely, and her sermon will be Pledge Allegiance to ... We will host a reception for her with a light lunch after the service. So come and meet our new minister. She was here when we dedicated our solar array. And she has preached here a couple times. So we're sharing her with Tri-U. So she's a full-time minister, half-time here and half-time there. Starting next week, we have a minister. I mean, we have lots of ministers. An in-house minister for some of the weeks. Okay. Covenant circles are groups of up to 10 people who meet every 2 to 4 weeks for a couple months, and they discuss topics of their choice. You can sign up in the narthex if you want to get into a group, and as soon as we have enough signed up, we'll start a new group. You can also sign up for the class Using Your Mind to Manage Chronic Pain, which Janine Reagan will be starting here next Friday. There's a sign-up sheet out there for that also. Are there any more announcements? I covered a lot. Yes. Okay, we have somebody coming. Henry.
Just real quick, I don't know that you mentioned the expo. Did you mention the expo?
Oh, no, I did not.
March 4th. There's an Echo Expo at Lake Sumter State College. Does everybody know about that? Who knows about that? A lot of people know about it. Who's going? A few people. Very good. I always like to take a little informal survey. So that's on March 4th from 8:30 to 1, I believe. And we have a lot of people that put a lot of work into it, so go and see what's going on to save our planet. The next announcement has to do with our new minister, and she will be starting next week. But the topic has come up that she would like to be with us 3 out of the 4 weeks every month, live here in the pulpit. But how is she going to do that? Because she also preaches at TriUU in Summerfield. So unless she's 2 people rolled into one, she needs to figure out a way to get from one to the other. Now the topic has come up that perhaps we could change our schedule. I'm bringing this up because some of you have probably heard this being discussed already, and I want to be sure that everybody's aware of the fact that it is being discussed, okay? It just came up recently, and the idea is that we would start at, for example, noon. And our service, instead of 11 o'clock, our service would start at noon, and everything would be an hour different. The Sunday discussion would be at 10:30 instead of 9:30. Potlucks would be after the service, a little bit later, of course. TriUU's service would be earlier. They would move their service earlier, okay, and they would start about 9:30, I believe. So that's being discussed this Thursday with TriUU and Reverend Snavely. I would like to do a brief informal poll right now. Informal, we'll get more formal information later on. How many people here, if you want to raise your hand, would be willing to come at noon instead of 11 o'clock? I think that's about half. You think that's about right? Yeah, about half. Okay, thank you very much. Let me get a beginning reading on how we're doing with this. Thank you very much.
Henry?
Yes.
I think it's really kind of important that we point out the original alternative was to have a service.
Let him have the mic.
And then we keep the same time.
Okay, Pete's suggesting that we also know that previously the arrangement was we would have her on Zoom instead of live 3 times a month. We'd have her Zoom once or twice a month in the pulpit and on Zoom the other times during the month. Is that right, Pete? You want everybody to be aware of that? Yeah, that was the original plan. And now she's decided that she would like to do everything live, which isn't a bad idea. It'd be nice to have her live. But we have to do some changes if we do that. So that's why I wanted to bring it up. Val?
I'm just wondering if there's any possibility that she could move it up a half hour, like 11:30 and maybe 9 or whatever it is up there, because I think starting at noon on a Sunday, often people have lunch plans, and I'm afraid that instead of growing our congregation, we may be inhibiting. So.
A very good point. I'm sure that'll be part of the discussions. Noon's not a done deal. It's just a possibility that's been suggested, but at 11:30 it's possible. We do, Susie.
I'm sorry. Who's discussing it? I might have.
Right now it's being discussed by the board here and TriUU's president and Reverend Snavely.
So nothing, no congregants are involved in.
Not yet. That's why I want to do the informal poll this morning, but if we're going to get very likely more information from the congregation to make sure everybody's had input. Okay, this is just a very beginning start, so that the rumor mill kind of is put to rest.
Thank you.
Community open house.
Oh, open house, February 25th.
March 25th.
Sorry. See, you all know that, right? You're all planning to come and help, right? Yeah, right. Okay, well, very good. That's right. March 25th, it's the open house, and that's a Saturday, I believe. And I forget the exact times, but what is it?
1 to 4.
1 to 4. Okay, open house to invite people from the community and find out who we are. All right. Anything else since I'm up here? All right. Well, thanks for your responses. I appreciate that very much. Thank you, Chris.
All right, our speaker today is Reverend Katie Culbert, whose sermon is titled Universalist Theology of Love. And we always enjoy Katie's passionate, timely messages and are grateful that she comes all the way from Tampa to be with us in person.
Good morning, everyone. Often, people say that they love coming to a place with so many like-minded people. I know just what they're getting at, and I know that they aren't quite getting it right. I don't want to be with a bunch of people who think just like me. I want to be in a beloved community where I don't have to think like everyone else to be loved or to be eligible for salvation. I want to be with people who value compassion, justice, love, and truth, though they have different thoughts and opinions about all sorts of things. I want to be with independent-minded people of good heart. I want to be with people who have many names and no names at all for God. I want to be with people who see me in my goodness and dignity, who also see my failings and my foibles, and who still love me. I want to be with people who feel their interconnection with all existence and let it guide their footfalls upon the earth. I want to be with people who are willing to walk the tightrope that is life and who will hold my hand as I walk mine. I want to be with people who let church call them into a different way of being in this world. I want to be with people who support, encourage, and even challenge us to live a higher and more ethical life. I want to be with people who inspire one another to follow the call of the Spirit. I want to be with people who covenant to be honest, engaged, and kind, who strive to keep their promises and hold me to the promises that I make. I want to be with people who give of themselves, who share their hearts and their minds and their gifts. I want to be with people who know that human community is often warm and generous, sometimes challenging, and almost always a grand adventure. In short, I want to be with people like you.
That goes along with what we discussed at our 9:30 discussion group today very well, exactly what was being said. Thank you. If there's anyone here for the first time that did not come as a congregant's friend, I invite you to raise your hand if you are willing, and when a microphone appears, you can introduce yourself and tell us what brought you here, why you're here. Okay.
Hi, my name is Dennis Bartle. This is my wife, Deborah Rowe. We're members of a UU congregation in Brighton, Michigan, and we heard good things about the Eustis UU, and so we're in the villages for 3 months every year. And she's a good lady because I have to get back and take care of business at home. But we're I'm just glad to be here. Thank you.
Welcome. Anybody else? I belong to the UU Church of Greater Lansing, so, also, as well as this. UUCLC is an inclusive, non-creedal fellowship that works for a just community and fosters a lifelong search for personal spiritual fulfillment. Our congregation celebrates diversity of religious experiences and spiritual practices. We welcome you, no matter your personal or religious background, no matter your age, your gender identity or expression, your race, your ethnicity, or your sexual orientation. Here, we honor the inherent worth and dignity of every person and every being. Here, we support one another in our searches for truth and meaning. We gratefully acknowledge that we are the stewards of the traditional lands of the Timucua Native peoples, whose ancestral homeland we walk upon humbly today. We are blessed with this land, and we honor the opportunity to strive to live our common principles, to bring justice, equity, and compassion into our daily lives, to resist all threats to the earth and her people, and to live out our dreams of a world community of peace, liberty, and justice for all. Let these thoughts carry us forth as we worship together. You are all welcome here this morning, and thank you for sharing your Sunday morning with us. The lighting of a chalice is a tradition shared by UUs all around the world.
In these hard times, let us look first to the response of love. In the midst of challenge, may our chalice flame bear witness to the inherent worth and dignity of every human being. In the midst of uncertainty, may our chalice be a beacon of encouragement, that our values may guide our decisions. Let us look first to the response of love. And now let us sing Spirit of Life, a hymn that is sung in all congregations, all UU congregations around the world. Please be seated, and the words are up on the screen. Spirit of life, come unto me, sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Go with the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots godly classes, wings set me free. Spirit of love, come to me, come to me.
Joy and sorrow are inseparable. Together they come, and when one sits alone with you, remember the other is asleep upon your bed. That's Kahil Gibran. It is our tradition to give you an opportunity to offer a joy or concern by silently placing a stone or stones in the sand. If you wish to share your joy or concern silently, you may rise and go to the station in the back, or the one in the front, and participate in our stone ritual. want to begin by sharing aloud with you my sorrow, and that is to tell you that our feisty activist, Lois Sanford, passed away this past week. Her daughter, Michelle, is by her side and is working on planning some kind of memorial for her. So, if anyone else would like to share aloud their joy or sorrow, raise your hand and we'll bring you a microphone.
Lois was a real inspiration to this church. She's been a member for many, many years. She was over at the Women's Center with us. She came over here. She was helped in the leadership of building this church. She's a woman that really we should use as an example to live our own lives. And I think we should remember her every year in February about Valentine's Day. She was a lovely person.
You said it, Glenn. Thank you. I had the pleasure of knowing Lois pretty well. We went to lunch regularly, and she always had a lot to say and to do, and left me with lots of to-do lists and items. I want to share a joy of the weekend. I know another feisty lady, my mother-in-law, who is 90 and a half now, and had about 10 weeks ago fell on a broken arm, which for a 90-year-old woman can be pretty challenging. But yesterday, she came over to our house for the first time, and she's with it. She's totally with it, and she is a grouchy, feisty 90-year-old woman. It is very out of for her, but we got her up and around. She's really coming back, and we're hopeful that she's going to recover fully. So hopefully we'll drag her here. We've had her a couple of times here at this church. She's not religious, so she doesn't think going to church is fun. But sometimes we bring her along anyway.
Hi, I'm going to share a joy. This building is a joy. Your solar energy system is a joy. I'm a retired professor of renewable energy technology and sustainable development. And this week, I convinced the Clean Energy Ministerial, it's an international organization, we're going to be facilitating solution summits for 30 countries on collaborative policymaking and program communications for the clean energy transition. And they had started with only 6 countries. And I said, we can do this for all your members. So now we're up to 30 countries. And I'm excited. And it doesn't start till the end of March, so I get a couple weeks off. So I'm really excited about this too.
Wow, thank you. Anybody else? All right. Our reflection time today will be a moving meditation. You will have the option of experiencing Tai Chi, an ancient Chinese practice. And just throughout it, just simply breathe deeply and focus and move as you can. You have options in how you participate. Some people will want to just sit and close their eyes and meditate in their seat as normal, with the music being played. Some people may want to watch the movement, the beauty of the movement. Others may want to follow the movement from their seat or standing up at your seat, or you can move into the aisles to fully move with freedom. So participate in whatever way feels right for you. This will be about a 5-minute practice. Okay, so go where you want to go. Knees are soft and breathe deeply. Let us reaffirm who we are by stating our congregational covenant together. Love is the spirit of this church, and through service we live our principles. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to speak the truth in love, and to help one another. It is our practice at UUCLC to give generously to our church as we are able, remembering both its meaning in our lives and its impact on the world. You may donate today in the wood box just outside the door to the left, or any of the ways mentioned on the screen. Thank you for your donation today.
Our reading this morning was written by a very good friend of mine, Reverend Kevin Tarsa. I met him in seminary in my first class. He was in my first class, and this is a beautiful reading based on Psalm 23. May I remember in this tender moment that love is my guide, always. shepherding me towards ways of openness and compassion. I have what I need, really, with love at my side, above me, below me, in front of me, behind me, inside every cell of me. Love infused everywhere. Just when the weight of the world I inhabit threatens to drop me in a place and press my hope down into the ground beneath me, love invites me to rest for a while. It leads the center of my soul to the quiet, still, restoring waters nearby that somehow I had not noticed. And so love, quietly, sets me once again on its tender and demanding path. Even when the walls close around me and the crisis of death echo through untold corners, gripping my heart with fear and with sadness, I know that all will be well, that I will be well when love whispers near to me, glints at the corner of my eye, rests with gentle and persistent invitation upon my shoulders. Yes, love blesses me, even as the sources and symbols of my pain look on. Love blesses me from its infinite well, and I turn and I notice that goodness and kindness and grace follow me everywhere, everywhere that I go. I live in a house of love, love that will not let me go. I live in a house of love, and I always will. Our special music this morning is Ziggy Marley, one of my favorite musicians, and the song is Love is My Religion.
Love is my religion. Love is my religion. I'll take you to the temple tonight. All my days I've been searching to find out what this life is worth. Through the books and boundaries of time, made up my mind. I don't condemn, I don't convert. This is a calling, have you heard? We're gonna love us to the full. No one is gonna lose their soul. Love is my religion. Love is my religion. Love is my religion. Yeah, you can take it or leave it, and you don't have to believe it. I don't want to fight. Hey, let's go fly a kite. There's nothing that we can't cure. And I'll keep you in my arms for sure. So don't nobody stop us. Free spirits have to soar. With you I share the gift. The gift that we now know. Love is my religion. Love is my religion. Love is my religion. Say you can take it or leave it. You don't have to believe it. Well, I'm done searching now. I found out what this life is worth. Not in the books did I find, but by searching my mind. I don't remember. This is the calling. is my religion. Love is my religion. Love is my religion. So you can take it or leave it. How do you believe? So don't let nobody stop us. Free spirits have to soar. With you I share the gift. The gift that we never know. Oh, love is my religion. Love is my religion. All we need is love. All we need is love. All we need is love. All we need is love.
I'm gonna see him in concert soon. I love all the Marleys, big reggae fan. So on Friday, after I picked up my boys from school, high school, a man driving a beat up work truck flipped me off in traffic because I had let another car in, which slowed the pace of traffic down. I think on Friday there must have been, I don't know, 50,000 more cars on the road. That might be an exaggeration. I'm not sure, but it was crazy, and it seemed like everyone was mad. Like everyone was just driving really mad, and I was getting mad too. Honestly, I've never done Tai Chi. I need to start doing Tai Chi in my car because I was really not happy about what was happening. You know, someone flipped me off on the way to church today too. On I-75, I wasn't going fast enough for him, whatever. So just 30 minutes before I had gotten into this previous being flipped off altercation, I was in my apartment preparing for today's worship service, a worship service on the theology of universalism and love, on how love is at the core of all that we do, and it is love that guides our actions. And so today, since it's Bring a Friend Sunday and the Sunday before Valentine's Day, I'm going to give y'all a little bit of history on Unitarian Universalism and what it means to live a life guided by love, with the caveat that sometimes I may or may not respond in love to those who flip me off in traffic. So according to Ziggy and to John, Paul, George, and Ringo, all we need is love. Sounds so simple, doesn't it? Love is my religion. I have so many friends who don't go to church. In fact, I might be one of the only people that goes to church, and always have been. And they perhaps grew up in a church that wounded them, a religion that wounded them, or perhaps they were raised without any religious upbringing at all, or honestly, they just don't think religion matters. Many of them are nuns. If you've heard of the nun, meaning when they are asked, what is your religious affiliation, they will respond with none. Or they typically profess that they are spiritual but not religious. Spiritual but not religious. And in my opinion, it's just semantics, honestly. Religion is a framework for answering questions of ultimate concern. Religion is hopefully a source of inspiration on how to live a life, a map to guide us on our quest to wholeness. A religious community binds us together in a world that is becoming more and more fragmented and isolated. To be a religious person does not mean that you go to church. It's way more than that. We all know people that go to church and aren't exactly practicing their religion. Being religious or spiritual, if the word religion is a roadblock for you, means that you are intentional about living in this world, and that you are actively searching for meaning and for truth. So, what is true? In our denomination, we emphasize each individual's search for what is true for them. Therefore, we do not believe that there is just one truth. We believe that there is truth to be found in many different places. We call these our sources. So I'm going to go through our sources right now. Direct experience of that transcending mystery and wonder affirmed in all cultures, which moves us to a renewal of the spirit and an openness to the forces which create and uphold life. Words and deeds of prophetic people which challenge us to confront powers and structures of evil with justice, compassion, and the transforming power of love. Wisdom from the world's religions, which inspire us in our ethical and our spiritual lives. Jewish and Christian teachings, which call us to respond to God's love by loving our neighbors as ourselves. Humanist teachings, which counsel us to heed the guidance of reason and the results of science, and warn us against the idolatries of the mind and spirit. And finally, spiritual teachings of earth-centered traditions which celebrate the sacred circle of life and instruct us to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature. To seek wisdom from these sources and to be open to receiving guidance from these sources while encouraging others to do the same is foundational to our religious tradition, our living tradition, Unitarian Universalism, and it has a rich history. Many folks have never even heard of Unitarian Universalism. I know when people ask me, oh, you're a minister, what church? I say, Unitarian Universalist Church. And not a lot of people know, especially the word Unitarian, and they think it's a new religion. And I joke and I say, yeah, we lost the vote at the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD, and we got booted from the club. Now I realize this really isn't a joke. Most people, when I say that, think, wow, she is a huge religion nerd. But whatever. They don't find it amusing. But I think it's important to know the history. So here's a little bit of history. The council, which is the birthplace of the Nicene Creed, which is a statement of Christian dogmatic theology, was the first formal claim of the Trinity and divinity of Jesus. But it wasn't a unanimous decision. It wasn't a unanimous decision. There were people there who continued to believe in one God. They weren't called Unitarians at the time, but that is the belief that they had. And one reason that they were very firm in this belief is because in the Bible, there's absolutely no mention of the Trinity. Nevertheless, the council made the declaration of the Trinity. We lost the vote. In 1539, and it was hard, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that. In 1539, Catherine Vogel of Poland was burned at the stake because of her beliefs denying the Trinity. And Francis Davy preached against the doctrine of the Trinity in Transylvania. His most famous quote, I think, is, "We need not think alike to love alike." And he later died in prison for being a heretic. Now, a heretic is a person who doesn't believe in the predominant religion of the culture. I became a proud heretic in the early 90s when I converted from Southern Baptist to Unitarian Universalism. Thankfully, this is no longer punishable by death in the United States. But being a heretic, even now, is challenging and is challenged regularly by those who clearly do not understand freedom of religion or separation of church and state, but that's a whole other sermon. In the United States, Unitarian beliefs surfaced in the late 1700s, and they grew in the 1800s with interest and support from intellectuals like Joseph Priestley, Thomas Jefferson, and William Channing. The Unitarian Association was formed in 1825. In the 1800s, the Unitarians were warned that questioning the Trinity, questioning Jesus' place in Christianity, was basically a slow slide to atheism. But whatever we call ourselves, Christians, Jews, theists, agnostic, atheists, most of us would agree that the important thing about Jesus is not his supposed miraculous birth or the claim that he was resurrected from death, but rather how he lived. The power of his love, the penetrating simplicity of his teachings, and the force of his example of service on behalf of the disenfranchised and the downtrodden. These are the things that are crucial about the message of Jesus. And whereas most mainline Christian traditions teach that salvation is found only through accepting the Trinity and that Jesus is Lord and Savior, and that the salvation they are referring to is that salvation after you die from eternal burning in hell for punishing you for your sins, Universalists believe that we are all saved. We are all saved and we are all loved, and that our lives and our actions should first and foremost be guided by that love. And so at the root of universalism is this theology of love, not a theology of fear. We are called to love the hell out of the world. Love the hell out of the world. And there is no shortage of hell here on earth. War, oppression, poverty, racism, environmental destruction. And these hells manifest themselves in various ways. As a parent, one of the hells that I witness on a weekly basis is driving up to, well, not being a parent. Y'all laugh at that too quickly. I'm not saying being a parent is hell. Oh, Lord. I didn't even see that coming. No, it's heaven all the time. What I was going to say is, a hell is driving up to my kids' high school and seeing police cars outside of their high school on a weekly basis. And they're also having lockdowns and lock-ins and all sorts of things. And it's because these kids are fighting. There are so many fights in their school, and I hear it's happening in all the schools in Hillsborough County at least. Last week, my son told me that a girl had her piercing yanked out. I don't know if y'all know what I'm talking about. Like, I don't quite know where the piercing was, but it was yanked out, and I said, that is awful. And he said, well, from what I understand, she had it coming to her. Ooh, she had it coming to her, I explained. Are you kidding me right now? And so my younger son chimed in, and he said, well, kids are growing up loving violence. And as much as my PKs, that's what preachers' kids are called, PKs, I'm probably sick of hearing it from me, I wasn't going to let this go. So I launched into a full-on sermon in the car, and it went kind of like this. Physical violence should only be used in the case of self-defense, period. Is this person a jerk? Are they dishonest, rude, mean, untrustworthy? I cannot even imagine the discomfort they feel by putting that energy into the world. We don't need to physically punish people for being jerks. That is their punishment. We are called to love one another. And being okay with someone getting their piercing yanked out is not. They did not deserve to be physically hurt. Unarmed black men do not deserve to be killed by the police. Families who immigrate to our country for a better life do not deserve to be split apart, these actions are motivated by fear. They are not motivated by love. At some point, I realized that both of my children had their headphones on and they were not listening to a word that I was saying. But it got me thinking about how different life would be if people only understood that they are loved, that we should love one another unconditionally. Love is a way of being. Love is the path, and love is the destination. Love as a foundational principle of living a good life can be found throughout various religious traditions. Once we open the doors of our hearts, we can let love flow at a social and political and ecological level. Mahatma Gandhi was a champion for this type of love, this universal love, this radical love. For him, love should permeate every aspect of our life. All human activities should be informed by love. For Gandhi, love had no borders and no boundaries, no limits and no conditions. He said, where there is love, there is life, and where there is love, there is light. Our love can be a beacon of light in a world that often feels very, very dark. I don't know about you, but sometimes I feel that darkness really weighing heavy on my soul. And I have moments of hopelessness, and I feel overwhelmed by the not love I see happening all around me. I am saddened by the selfishness of our society, the cruelty, the divisiveness. And in those moments, I turn to my faith. I turn to my faith that reminds me that good will always triumph over evil, and love will always win. Folks sometimes push back on that statement, but historically speaking, it's true. I believe, as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. professed, that love is the most durable power in the world. It is not an expression of impractical idealism, but of practical realism. Far from being the pious injunction of a utopian dreamer, love is an absolute necessity for the survival of our civilization. But life will not change if we just say, love is my religion. We will not change. Transformation will not take place. Love is a verb. And so I wonder, what does love cause me to do in the world? And what does love cause you to do in the world? The Reverend Tracy Robinson Harris relates the story of a 5-year-old boy who, in the middle of a long and frightening night, wakes up in tears. He was staying with his grandfather as his parents tried to put the pieces of their lives back together. He didn't know what was going to happen to himself or to them. When the boy awoke, he called out, "Grandpa, I'm scared." "It's all right," said his grandfather. I'm here. And indeed he was, sleeping in the same room in a different bed, and he was listening for his grandson's cry. The boy heard the reassuring words, "I'm here," yet still crying. He said, "I know, Grandpa, but is your face turned towards me?" That's the big question. That's the big question of living a life guided by love. Is our face really turned toward the loved one, the stranger, even the enemy? Reverend Tom Owen Toll asks, do we truly see others as worthy human beings? Being held in the grip of God's love, Universalism bids us to reciprocate love's favor, to turn fully to the other and see them. We live in a world where people are damned in the name of religion because their views are different, are verbally or physically attacked because either the hue of their skin or their manner of their loving is different. Those of us who are held fast in the grasp of a loving faith must demonstrate an alternative way of being, the Universalist way of unqualified acceptance. Not just tolerance, acceptance. We cannot look away because we are all connected. We are united. Our main job as both a Universalist community and as individual persons is to remember love whenever we can, whenever it is available to be remembered or experienced, and to remind one another when we have forgotten. We remind one another, we remind each other not by logical arguments, but by being love, by embodying and manifesting love, by grounding our actions, our choices, our words in that bedrock of love that underlays and supports everything. Everything, and it is deeper than the suffering. It is deeper than the suffering and the struggle of the moment. Universalists would concur with Dr. Martin Luther King, who said the ultimate measure of human beings is not where we stand in moments of comfort and convenience, but where we stand at times of challenge and controversy. And so I reiterate, Unitarian Universalism is a living faith. It is a faith of deeds, not creeds. We have a long history of tackling major socio-ethical challenges, often assuming very unpopular stands. But if we are truly to live a life guided by love, we will act on the side of love, translating our theological resolve into ethical action. Love is a verb. May it be so. So our closing hymn is 131, Love Will Guide Us. And after the hymn, we're all going to stand for the hymn. And after the hymn is over, Terry's going to play a piece of music. And I have something special for y'all. I made y'all each Valentines. And the Valentines have different quotes on them that I thought were fit into. It's not romantic love that we're talking about here. It's about love that motivates to do things like this. Now, we'll add that my son, my 15-year-old, helped me with these Valentines. I know, isn't he precious? I was very appreciative of this because I was very overwhelmed this week. But he's the one that pasted the hearts on there, so they're very wonky, and he did that on purpose because he's a UU, you know, he's a UU kid. He's not going to do it like in order. So, So I hope you enjoy your Valentine. Now let us sing Love Will Guide Us.
Love will guide us, leads us right us, opens wide us, will lead the way on the road from free to living. Love will guide us. If you cannot sing like angels,
That's my favorite line.
Deep within you, you can change the world with your love. Love will guide us, leads us right us, inside us, leads the way on the road from free to giving. Love will guide us through the hard times. Be seated, please. You play the Valentine song.
Thank you, Terry. That was beautiful. As we extinguish our chalice, let us remember that we all emerge from, dwell within, are transformed by, and called back to love. May your mind be humbled before the mystery. May your heart grow hopeful by it. And may you be sustained by this love always.
And finally, we will rise as able and willing, and we're going to hold our palms toward our neighbors and send loving energy to them without touching them. Unless you're, and we're going to sing our song Weave, and the words will be on the screen. Okay, our worship is over, so let our service begin. Be sure to greet folks you don't know, and you're welcome to go into the social hall behind us and meet people. Thank you.
Thank you so much.